Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Spiritual Journey podcast. My name is Nimesh, Radia, and I'm your host. I always love starting every episode by saying thank you. I feel so blessed with this podcast, the impact it has, the people it reaches. I started the podcast as a passion project when I was guided by my mentor, my friend, who's no longer with us, Cedric Jeffrey. Has her initials SJ, and I really feel like she continues to support it. So if you're a regular listener, thank you for your support. Welcome back. If you're new to this podcast, welcome. Thank you for joining. Let us know if you have any feedback. And just a reminder, if you do like this podcast, please do like, comment, share. It really does help us with getting more people and guiding more people along on the journey. We love what we get to do. I am an Akashic record reader, Akashic trainer, podcast host, podcast creator, as well as a spiritual coach and mentor. And what I get to do is I get to guide people on their journey, helping them understand who they are, why they're here. Releasing is I help you to release the layers you've been holding on to. The mentorship program that we channel through the Akashic records really allows us over 12 weeks to go deep on who you are. We work through your full bodies, physical, mental, emotional. You get weekly calls with us. And we really help you to understand the layers, to understand your power. This is a pivotal time on the planet. And if anything we say resonates, reach out, book a free discovery call. You can work with both of us together, or you can work with us individually, whatever resonates. I always say whoever works with us is a soul contract. So yeah, if you resonates, if you feel our energy, our vibration, then please do reach out. This podcast will be where it is today with my beautiful and stunning co-host, introducing the amazing, the stunning, the healer extraordinaire, and published author, Stacey Brown. Stace, you know I got to do it. Boring otherwise. Over to
Hi,
you.
friends. It's good to be back. I'm so grateful for this space where we get to use our voices to encourage you on your healing journey. My name is Stacey. I'm an intuitive. I do readings for people from all around the world. I'm also an Akashic record reader and a spiritual coach and mentor. And something that I haven't mentioned much of on this podcast is the fact that I'm also a Reiki practitioner. So I feel like I need to share that more. As Nims was saying, we help people on their healing journey. Whether you're going through upheaval in your life or you're feeling stagnant and unsure of what's next, Nims and I help guide you through that transition and help you to understand yourself better. So if our voices resonate, reach out. A free discovery call is the best way to do that. And if you're not sure of what you need, that discovery call is exactly for you because we figure out how we can serve you. I'm also a published author. My book, Journey to Soul Center, Discovering the Gift of Surrender, is available on Amazon and Audible. If you haven't checked it out yet, I encourage you to. It is a powerful story of my journey to healing, and I'm rereading it currently on Clubhouse. And I'm reminded of how intense my journey has been. And at the end of each chapter, there's a life lesson and a journal prompt to help you on your journey. I didn't want to just tell my story. I wanted to give you the opportunity to reflect on your own. So if you haven't checked it out yet, I encourage you to. I'm looking forward to this episode today, Nims.
So am I. So am I. So just for full disclosure, we're recording this on Wednesday the 18th. Kind of always tap into the energy and kind of decide, well, what feels right. Try and make sure we're in line with previous topics, but obviously not repeating. There's always an overlap. But today there's a powerful new moon in Pisces, which is the last zodiac, before we move into Aries season on Friday, which is also spring equinox. Also the end of Mercury retrograde, which everyone seems to talk about for whatever reason. But I feel like the energy is shifting. I feel like we've been going through so much change and so many cycles that for me, this period between the new year and spring equinox, and then when you're hearing this, it's time to allow new energies and new vibrations in, to feel the new energies and vibrations. We've been such a traumatic, heavy period. I feel like we've got to train ourselves to realize that we've grown. And so hopefully you felt the energy of the spring equinox. Hopefully you're feeling the newness, because for me, spring equinox is really the new year. January is the first, sure, maybe the human new year, but spiritually, I know some parts of the world we're going into autumn, but um, for this side of the world, it's spring, and spring is all about, actually, in the UK, sun shining today, which is quite rare, you know. So I'm feeling the newness. So today we want to dive into the topic of when growth changes the roles we play in each other's lives. And the reason we picked this topic is I feel like a lot of people can resonate to this topic. Because the reality is we've been going through so many shifts, so much growth. And what happens is, as we do the work, as we raise our vibration, it changes the dynamics of relationships. If you raise your vibration and the people around you haven't done the same, then you're going to struggle to be in each other's energy. And what you sometimes end up doing is lowering your vibration to be around other people. And you've probably heard me say many times, right? You know, pick your people. This is a time to really be conscious about who your soul family is. And what I mean by soul family is, that's the family you pick. The people that's close in your world, the people that's, and I feel for a lot of us, that's changing. Even our relationship with the blood family, I always tell you that blood family are not here always to love you. Sometimes they are, but they're always here to teach you something. But the reality is, when you start a relationship, you have an expectation of how that relationship's going to go. It's a friendship, it's a relationship. You probably feel, you're aligned in some kind of way. And sometimes you stay aligned, right? You stay aligned, but other times you drift apart. And by the way, that's what a soul contract looks like, right? So maybe your soul contract with some of the people in your world is to experience love, to experience friendship, to experience connection. But then maybe at some point it's also to for that same relationship to maybe feel hurt, pain, or disconnect. Soul contract and relationships don't stay the same. Everything continues to evolve. Change is the only constant. So this, bear in mind how much the energy is shifting and continues to shift. I do feel like we've got to be open to the people in our life, the roles changing. And that doesn't always mean by the soul contract ending, but sometimes it does. And, Stacey, I'm sure you can relate to this, right? We talk about this topic often about how over the last few years, a lot of people that we thought were going to be in our lives for forever, I guess, are no longer in our lives. And it's the reality, right? Growth just changes. As we raise our vibration, our energy shifts, and it means that what we were aligned to before, the people, the things we do, the people we watch, what we read, etc., changes and evolves. Change is the only constant. So even though we want people to come with us, I remember when I started on this healing journey, when I wanted to fix everybody. I wanted to heal everybody in my family and all my friends, and ultimately that's not our choice. It has to be up to the person how much they want to heal. So Stace, how much does this topic resonate with you in terms of growth, changing the roles that people play in each other's lives, and what's your experience doing of it?
It's been so interesting to see the relationships evolve in my life as I've been on this journey, and to see the relationships that have fallen away because there have been so many. And I don't know if anybody else can relate to that, but as we shift and change, it doesn't necessarily mean that relationships are going to fit in the way that they did before. And I think what's really hard is when you know that you're doing what you need to be doing for yourself, and you can feel it creating a distance in some of your relationships. And I'm being challenged with this very thing right now, Nims. And I don't know what to do about it. It's somebody close to me. It's somebody that I have a history with. And I can feel the distance right now as I evolve and grow. And there's a lot of grief that goes along with that because I don't necessarily want to let the relationship go, but I definitely feel it shifting massively.
Stace, thank you for sharing. I mean, that's a really great example of our expectations in a relationship and how things change. Um, you know, there's two people in a relationship, there's expectations on either side. And when those expectations don't align, that's when the disconnect appears. And, there's no right or wrong to this, right? We evolve, we change. As I said, change is the only constant. And, it's interesting. I feel like early in my journey, I'm not sure how consciously I picked the people in my world. And I've been blessed with a lot of good friends along the way, and I still have a good, strong friend circle. The reality is, there's a lot of people in my world that don't really understand what I do. Very, very, very few people, and that's, what, I've come to terms with that. But at the same time, it means that I've changed my expectations, right? And it's like I said, it's when your expectations, when you expect something from a certain relationship and you're not getting it, the disconnect starts to, so in this point, what expectations do you have of your soul family? What expectations do you have from your blood family? Do you have people in your world that lift you up? Do you have people in your world that drain you? Do you have people in your world that you loved unconditionally? At one point, you were so aligned, you could even almost kind of know what the other person is thinking. And sometimes we stay in a connection, in a relationship, because we see it with rose-tinted glasses. We see it as how it used to be, or we see it as how we expected it to be. And the reality is things change. And it's having that honest conversation with yourself and looking at the people in your world that kind of helps you to see it. I mean, the way I always describe it is, imagine yourself as a Disney character, the superhero in a movie, and recognize that everybody in your world is playing the roles that you asked them to play. Because that's what a soul contract is, right? You pick the people, but the power of that is you have the opportunity to change it. So if you're having the people in your life that are draining you, then you have to manifest the right people. And the way you do that is by asking you, well, hold on, what is this person teaching me? What was my soul contract with this person? Is my soul contract with this person complete? And trust your intuition. And the honest reality with this healing journey is the deeper you do the work, the more people you lose. And I'm going to repeat that again. The deeper you do the work, the more people you lose. Because the reality is not everybody is open to doing that deep work. And as you do the deep work, your vibration, you release so much more, and your energy and your vibration changes. That can do one or two things. One, it could inspire those around you to do some work on themselves too. Or two, the disconnect increases. And then what happens is those people sometimes trying to keep you stuck. They remember the old version of you and they want that old version back. But the reality is that version of you doesn't exist anymore. To Stacey, again, we've talked about this many times, and we both experienced this. I'm just curious, what would how has your growth and the work that you've done on yourself kind of affected those around you?
So much. I mean, I've been evolving and changing and shifting, and I'm not the same person that I was even 6 months ago, let alone 5 years ago or 10 years ago. And I think that's very hard for some people in my life to accept. And I'm finding this season to be very intense, meaning there's a lot of loss happening, but there's also a lot of new people coming into my world, a lot of new situations that feel more aligned with who I am and who I want to be.
And that's the thank you for sharing that, Stacey. That's such an important point. Sometimes we need to create space in our world for new vibrations, new energies, new souls. And sometimes we struggle with it because we're loyal to the people that have been with us. And I think of souls as reason, season, life. Some people come into your world for a reason, to teach you something. Some people are there for a season, and they come and go, and they teach you. And there's other people are there for a reason. For other people are there for life. So reason, season, life. And the reality is, not everybody, not everybody's going to walk the path with us for all our lives, even though we want them to. But again, beautiful question, beautiful point, Stace. May I ask our listeners, have you created space in your world for new souls? Are you open to new people coming into your world? The other thing that happens is sometimes we're so jaded with some of the relationship pain that's caused us that we're not open for new people to come in. And again, what I suggest with this is trusting your intuition. It's like when you meet somebody new, there's a knowingness inside you that you know this person, i.e., or maybe you're meant to get close to, maybe you have a past life. There's, when you meet somebody, there's sometimes you just have that connection. It's, I know this person. I wonder if we're from. Other times, no matter how great the person is, and maybe they're friends with friends and all that, but you don't feel a connection. That's okay too. But this really is a time, and Stacey's talking about it, right? The universe is keeping us really honest. If I was to be, my circle's gotten really small. The people I hear from on a daily basis is really small. And I don't know if I feel good or bad about that. Really, it just is. As I've been working on myself for years now, and I know that I've shifted and changed. And I joked with Stacey was on a live yesterday because she's definitely a constant in my life, and I was like, I asked her on a live, it's like in the comment section, is Stacey going to annoy me tomorrow? And I just just my way of just kind of keeping on her toes. But there are some people that are meant to stay there. There are others that, and it is hard. But at the same time, we're on this journey. We're a soul having a human experience. A soul has soul contracts to interact with certain people, and I feel like the shift that we're going through is really about connecting with new people. It's more about community and collaboration. The phase we're finishing has all been about the ego, all been about the masculine, putting all these people on pedestals. But now it's about collaboration. Now it's about co-creation. This is why we felt this topic was really important. But again, I come back to, who are you holding in your life, and you're just keeping them because you're used to it. Sometimes we'll hold on to people because we're worried if we let that person go, then there's going to be a void in us. But what if you need that void? What if you need that void to then invite new people in? And sometimes the void is there for you to get to know you. How do you know what you're looking for in other connections if you haven't got to know this version of you? And sometimes we stay with people because we're loyal. We think we owe them something. But again, I ask you, who is that helping? This is a period where it's really important to be authentic. So again, if you're holding on to people because you you feel like you owe them something, or you're loyal to the person, or you feel like, what's going to happen if you let this person go, then have that honest conversation with yourself. And by the way, there isn't a right or wrong. Whatever you feel is right for you, do that. But this phase, I'm telling you, is the universe is asking us to be courageous. And what's being courageous? It's having fear and doing it anyway. So if you're scared about letting some relationships go because of the gap it's going to create in your world, then I'd probably encourage you to create that gap. And both me and Stacey, when we talk about this topic, we're talking from knowing this is exactly what we've done in our world. It's not. And I always love the phrase that, God, source, whatever you want to call it, clears your path of people because he hears the conversations they have about you behind your back. And again, if you trust your intuition, there's people that have your back. So Stacey, everything you've experienced, what would your advice be to people who, because it's easy for me to say, right, kind of let go of those souls that no longer serve you, or, if you trust your intuition, then that will treat you right and all, And for me, I believe that, right? It really helped me to invite people into my world that hold my space differently. But what would your advice be to people who are maybe struggling with it?
That is so hard because I still feel like I'm in it. I still feel like I'm learning as I'm going. But I also feel like we get those gaps in our life, or those openings, those spaces open up where we purge relationships or release them or surrender them, whatever you want to say. And it creates room for new relationships to come into our lives. And, I think about like when we met, Nims, and for me, I felt connected to you very early on. And I felt like I felt a connection, and I had space in my life for you because I had released some relationships and created space for that. And I don't know if I would have had space for that even the year before. And I just see the evolution of the relationships that have come into my life. And I'm grateful that I made space for healthier ones, because as I've gotten healthier, I'm attracting healthier. Right?
Yeah, that makes so much sense. It's really interesting. It's when I first heard you speak, and you mentioned Clubhouse earlier, Clubhouse is an audio app, and Clubhouse helped me a lot during lockdown. It was a safe space for me to use my voice, and one of the first time I heard you speak, you were very vulnerable about your story, and that for me it's quite rare, and you connected with me at a soul level, and I just Clubhouse is again the app where you don't always have to speak, right? You can be in the audience, but I chose to come on stage, as they call it on Clubhouse, just to say, well done. I appreciate your how authentic you are, how vulnerable you are, and that kind of just opened something up in me that knew that I somehow knew we were meant to be connected. So you always cringe at your vulnerability, but actually, I feel like it's one of your superpowers. And actually, if you weren't vulnerable that day, we may not be connected. And the irony of this whole thing is that the people that connected us, there was a mutual friend, etc., and those are the part of the people that are no longer in our world. And really, the message is: look, if somebody's meant to be in your world, they'll stay in your world. But if you try and hold on to them, then are you causing them pain, and you're causing yourself pain? If you love something, let it go. If it's meant to be, it'll come back, right? That's just the thing. Letting relationships evolve. Nothing stays the same. So the only constant is change. Sometimes we want, we say things like, oh, I wish you were like you were before and you've changed. And of course you've changed. Day-to-day life or what we go through changes us. So we can't stay the same. But here's the thing. You've worked on you, you Stacey, you the listener. You've changed and evolved so much. So the people in your world and the new people in your world deserve to get to know this version of you. You work so hard. I mean, look at what we've been through the last few years. Of course, you're not the same. But sometimes we play roles. We play roles that, and we want to act the way that we used to because we don't want things to change. But in our hearts, we know when we're being authentic and when we're not. I mean, I'm at a space where I really can't chit chat anymore. I can't, I'm British, so sure, I can have a quick conversation about the weather. It's kind of the thing we do, and the British people, hopefully that hasn't offended you, but it's true. Kind of like today the sun's out and, everyone's talking about the sun being out. But it's like when people start gossiping about this person, that person, who am I to judge anybody, right? Everybody's going through their own. But as I come back to, this is the time for you to create a strong team around you. And the thing is that sometimes we look for people who fully understand us. And we're a soul, have a unique experience. So is anyone really going to fully understand you? Probably not. But are you going to find people that hold your space? Yeah, for sure. Are you going to find people who allow you to be your authentic space, allow you to share, who listen to you consciously without trying to fix you? 100% you can manifest that. And the other thing, again, this is what I'm going to bring Stacey in again in a second, is I know just with the people I talk to and the clients and stuff that this period has felt quite lonely. It's felt quite isolating. It's like we've been in a cocoon. Nobody really understands us, and it's like sometimes you get used to that space. But you're the one that has to really kind of feel this thing shifting, and you're the one that has to open your heart a little bit, because I feel like a lot of us will put a wall around our heart, and it takes a lot of work for somebody to get in. So what's your take on that, Stacey, in terms of, the phase we've just been in, which has maybe still feels quite isolating compared to the space we're moving into, which actually may be more collaborative?
It's been uncomfortable, for sure. This has been a season of absolutely feeling the isolation that comes from growth and expansion. But then I also feel like things are opening up into that more collaborative space where new souls are coming into my life, new experiences are coming into my life. And again, I wouldn't have room for those experiences had I gone a different direction, right? But I feel that we are all moving into a better space. I really feel like this year is going to be a year of building relationships and strengthening relationships and welcoming in new people into our orbit. Because I think a lot of us have changed really significantly through specifically the last few years. And to me, now I think we're going to start reaping the benefits of that by experiencing new relationships and new opportunities.
I couldn't agree any more. And the reality is, like I said earlier, we hold on to relationships that may be done. But how do you know if that relationship isn't going to strengthen by you being authentic? How do you know that by you being authentic, you're not going to inspire somebody to start working on themselves? And unless you're authentic, how do you know if you're aligned or not? admitting that change is scary, is uncomfortable, is powerful. But again, it's the only constant. It's that, and as Stacey says, sometimes you've got to let people feel that vibration, your new energy, to allow new souls to come in. Like I said, it's just, we've gotten used to, over the last few years, being in a space of isolation. And sometimes we train ourselves to be the same. And I know I've caught myself doing that sometimes, right? I'm so used to, I love my own company. But I also love being around other people too, right? It's the balance. And the weird, again, the weird thing with this doing the spiritual work is sometimes you do get isolated, and you also really start to enjoy spending time with you, which is important, by the way. But balance is also important. We're a soul having a human experience, so unless you get out there, unless you do things that you don't normally do, unless you do things to lift your soul, how are new people going to find you? So, if you're sitting there thinking, well, I feel very lonely, my group has gone smaller, but, these guys are talking about manifesting new relationships and I can't see it. My question to you is, what have you done? Have you put yourself in situations that are unusual for you? Have you done things that maybe you haven't done before? I mean, if you enjoy walking, join a walking group. If you want to love meditating, then join a meditation group, right? It's like there are conscious groups out there. And I would encourage you to look for stuff in person, but also online, right? Why not both? I met Stacey online. She lives in a rural part of the US, and I live in London. So, we're, the way we've grown up couldn't be any more different, but yet we still connected at a soul level, right? So it's just when you open to magic, magic happens. And like we've both been talking about, we're entering into a new paradigm, there's a new shift. And you can't, it's like we don't have a choice. We can't stay the same. And if you're honest with yourself, you realize that you've changed so much. And as we talked about an episode, I can't remember anymore, everything kind of melds in, but we talked about an episode where, our current world, we don't fit in anymore. But the new world's still being created. But part of creating the new world is inviting new relationships in. The Stace, as you talked about, you manifested new people, and I love that for you, by the way. I think that's really cool. But again, what would your recommendation be in terms of, what did you do to put yourself in maybe uncomfortable situations to meet new people?
Oh my gosh, I've been pushed out of my comfort zone so much with meeting new people. I am now working part-time in a salon doing hair and Reiki. And I've had to go out to local businesses and introduce myself and hand out business cards and do things that I never saw myself doing. And yet it's connected me with new people and new faces and new opportunities that I couldn't have anticipated happening otherwise. So this has been powerful for me to step so far out of my comfort zone and see what's there. I have spent a lot of the last few years doing virtual work, and getting the opportunity to put my hands on people in person again has opened me up to new connections, even more connections. And so one of the things that I would encourage our listeners to do is use your gifts. Get yourself in opportunities where you get to use the good parts of yourself as often as possible. Whether it's, healing work, whether it's talking to people, whether it's writing a book, whatever it is, Start doing those things. And I really do believe that's when we start to attract those other like-minded souls into our space.
And it's that period of, it's that moment of being uncomfortable where you start to grow. So again, I guess the last to the listener, what can you do to put yourself in a situation where, well, you're feeling uncomfortable? I mean, for me, I'm joining more networking groups. I'll give you a quick story. In my head, I've always thought it's almost like the podcast life and my clients who are mostly in the US, and I've always kind of thought, that locally I don't know anyone that's on the spiritual path, and that's close enough to me, and it's just I told myself this story that everyone most of the listeners of the podcast are in the US, but there are a large portion in the UK too. But I kind of told myself that most of the people I'm going to meet like that and are not going to be around me, and I just happened to, and I've told this story before, but I just happened to be on my way home, and this must have been 7-8 months ago, but I was on my way home and I thought, you know what, I just want a milkshake. And there's an ice cream shop not far from me. It's on the high street near where I am. And I probably hadn't been there for 12, 18 months. So I just walked in. I was in the queue. And then there was a group of people just sitting there. One person from the group got up and said, "Hey, how you doing?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm good." I was like, "I don't know this guy, but sure." And it just so happened the day before, me and Stacey, we run a full moon webinar once a month, which is free. And it's 90 minutes healing. By the way, next one's on April the 1st. But he's like, "Oh yeah, I was on your webinar yesterday. It was amazing." I was like, "Oh wow, cool." Then another person got up and said, "Oh yeah, we were there too." The third person got up and said, "Yeah, I was there too. And but by the way, I got a reading from you last year." And I was like, "Wait, what?" And it was a beautiful moment. And to the point where I should have taken my phone out and we should have taken some pictures. Actually, they took some pictures, but I just didn't. I wasn't thinking about it. But it just showed me there are people close by and it showed me that I was just telling myself a story. But that's led to me doing regular meditation circles in my home. By the way, I was very protective over my home, but it's a very healing space, so I opened that up. And it's kind of led to me planning an event in Glastonbury in June. And it's just it's just helped me to understand there's much more going around me. And so short, opening this place up, doing meditation circle, kind of opening my home up, kind of made me feel a bit uncomfortable and out of my comfort zone, but it's gone really well. But it's like, maybe you don't want to open your home up to a meditation circle, but maybe there's a meditation circle near you. Maybe there's a networking group near you. Maybe there's, like I said earlier, if you enjoy walking, then find a walking group. If you like to run, then do that. Or maybe join the gym. And but you're not going to meet new people staying at home. Of course, try online, but I really do feel like we're also moving into a phase where human touch, human connection is important. Interesting. I do feel like the planet's going to go through many shifts, and who knows what the planet's going to go through. But right now, while you have the opportunity, get out your comfort zone. But Stacey, as we're kind of getting to the end and closer, I'm going to ask you in terms of any final bits of advice, any journal prompts. For me, I feel like this topic is really important. I feel like inviting new energies and new vibrations in it this time, updating your soul family if you haven't done it already. Maybe I sound a bit callous, by the way, but it's just you've got to have a team of people around you to allow you to thrive in this next phase. And it's not being cruel. It's moving into this new chapter without resentment, without blame, and shining your light. And the only person you've got to be responsible for is yourself. So we're not here to carry people. We're not here to. You've got to unapologetically put yourself first. And when you do that, and you look at the relationships around you, you'll know whether you need to change your life. Stacey, over to you.
I would encourage our listeners to have patience with themselves and with others, because we also need to remember that people are meeting this newer version of us as we're getting to know this version of us as well. And so I think there needs to be a level of patience as we navigate through this. And so my biggest piece of advice when you're going through this is to take that time that you can in your busy life to be still and introspective and meditative so that you can be intentional, right? And not make a knee-jerk decision about a relationship that you have in your life, but rather come from a space of really being able to listen to your inner voice and figure out what next steps you need to take. But as far as journal prompts, I would ask you to ask yourself, are the relationships close to me? Actually, how are the relationships closest to me serving me? And see what comes up.
I love it. I love it. Such a powerful question. And trust your intuition. Go deep. Because sometimes we can answer these things superficially, right? But there's a knowingness in you. And this is a phase of growth, right? And we've grown so much, and it's important to remember that you have become someone new. You've changed. But when you grow, it also asks the people around you to relate to you in a new way, to get to know this new version of you. And they may not resonate anymore. There's a lot of studies that say that, people can only be within 3 levels of you. If you look at Hawkins' map of energy, right? People can only be within 3 levels of you. And that, it's so true. So the clue is in you. If you're having to lower your vibration to be around people, then that's a clear clue. If the people around you drain you, that's another clear clue. Your intuition is the biggest guide. And by the way, if you want some insight, you want some guidance, we've said multiple times, book a free discovery call. Book an Akashic record reading, which gives you insights into your soul contracts, your soul journey. So many different ways you can work with us. I mentioned the full moon webinar, which is on April the 1st. 90 minutes of healing is free. It's free. It's around the full moon. You get to experience me and Stacey on Zoom, a different experience. And, I know Stacey has her ladies only Facebook group, which again, I know is growing. I have my Spiritual Journey membership. It's a safe group. It's a community. We're both creating communities that allow you to grow, allow you to be. But the thing that we love doing the most is the mentorship. So if this resonates, I have a promo at the moment where if you sign up for mentorship, and I was planning to end this end of March, so if you sign up for mentorship in the next few weeks, then I will include Akashic record training. So that means you get 14 weeks for the price of 12. And by the way, at some point in April, I'm going to put my prices up too. So it is a beautiful time. Whenever divine timing is divine timing, but it is a great time to sign up for mentorship, especially with all the changes in happening in the world. So we're sending you so much love and light. Stace, I'm going to hand over to you to close out. Over to you.
I just want to remind everybody, along with some of the reminders that Nimesh gave, that I've had this long promo for a 30-minute reading for $44 that will be coming to an end here very soon. So if you want to take advantage of that opportunity, now is the time. I will be eliminating that from my options here very soon and raising my prices. I'm looking forward to connecting with those of you who reach out. We love hearing your feedback about our episodes. And so if this resonated, send us a message. Thanks for being here, Nimesh. Love you.
Oh, I love you too, Stace. And truly hope everyone listening to can feel our love. We love doing this. And our intention really is for you to guide you on your journey. It's such a powerful time, but it's such a train. It can also be draining. It can also be empowering. It can also be scary. Our intention is really to guide you. So we're sending you so much love and light. Love you too, Stace, and we'll be back soon. Bye for now.